Hi, how is everybody today? I hope you're having a lovely day. As you can see, it's sunny outside and it's perfect weather. So, today I want to talk to you about what is inner child and how do you communicate with inner child. I think it's a word that floats around quite a lot, especially in the healing community. And I think a lot of people were like, what is inner child? I get that it's the little me, but how do I communicate with her, him? What do I do? Because a lot of us have inner child woundings. And it can be so deep that we can't even cover it sometimes, and we just have to keep digging and digging. And really, the easiest way is to converse with your inner child as if it was a real person. So I'll tell you a story. It was quite funny. It happened actually last week, and it was with a leader. She's very in tune, and she has two kids of her own, so she's a very good mama bear, and she's a fantastic leader as well. But I was talking about inner child things, for instance, and she kind of said, like, I was bringing up my vulnerabilities of, oh, I don't think I'm good at this. I feel like there's so many people that are better at this than I am, or, certain things that are not detailed enough. I feel like I should be doing more. Where she was saying, you are excellent in what you do. You really bring a lot of attention to details that nobody else does in our business. You create such a great work environment with your support, consistently setting up events to celebrate each other, and so on and so forth. Things that are very natural to me that for some reason my brain has not registered as a, something that other people don't do. It's not natural to them, so they don't think about it. They don't understand what goes into it, or so really I was just being honest with her and said, like, hey, well, my inner child is basically saying, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, I want to be appreciated too, and this and that. I got a controller. Nobody should control it either way. But it's a real thing, because when you start having triggers, when you start feeling like, I want it my way, and why can't that person bend for me? Or, why is my partner out with another person and not texting me back? And, things like that, for instance, that's a insecurity that you have. Maybe something happened in your childhood. Maybe something happened in past relationships, but you don't feel secure, and that's why you're freaking out. So that's a trigger, right? A trigger is when you feel very uncomfortable or you get angry or sad or mad or frustrated or something like that. That's a trigger. That's something usually comes up from childhood. I know it sounds insane, but realistically, I've looked into this, and a lot of it traces back to childhood, and we don't understand how it gets implemented, because it's the smallest thing can trigger you. The smallest thing can cause you to have trauma sometimes. So be relentlessly forgiving to yourself and kind to yourself and gentle, because it's a process. We're not used to having to deal with us as a separate entity, having an inner child to deal with as in a real person, thinking like, oh, it'd be fine. What if I talk to her or him like every once in the blue moon? Realistically, you think that that person and that child is going to be okay? No, if it was a real child, it would be feeling extremely neglected, extremely unloved, and feeling a lot of anxiety. Think of a dog. If you leave a dog by itself for hours and hours and hours, especially if it's a multi-poo, woo, they are not happy. They get super anxious and they don't know what to do. It's like the whole world is falling apart, because you pretty much abandoned them. That's how they feel. Now, that might not be the story. That's for reals, because you probably went out grocery shopping and you had to leave the dog. But to a dog, they don't understand it. To a child, they don't understand it. So do you see what I mean? So when you associate that to your inner child being a real child that is in your care because it didn't receive the love, care, and attention and support that you needed, it's your job to take care of it now. It's your job to reparent and really make her or him feel comfortable. And how you do that is always having conversation as if it was a real child right next to you. And you build that every day. And what I recommend to my clients, I do a lot of mirror work. So Louise Hayes is a big part of my work, and what I recommend to people. She has a book called Mirror Work, and you basically do mirror work in the mirror. So you talk to yourself and say, I love you. And you keep looking at yourself and saying that. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable when they look at themselves in the mirror for the very first time. A couple of times, you'll feel really uncomfortable because you're not used to looking at yourself and looking at everything, right? Most people actually try to run around, or even women putting on makeup. You'd think you're looking at yourself, but you're not. You're not actually paying attention to the little girl inside. You're not actually paying attention to how you're feeling. You're busy doing busy work and not giving love to your inner child or to yourself. In one sense, you are giving love to yourself because you're putting on makeup and that makes you feel good, but you're not giving that love to the inner child and taking the moment and go, hey, I see you, I hear you. What do you want to say today? So when you build that relationship with a child and doing mirror work with yourself, you'll see how it improves and becomes easier and easier for you to take him, her, the little child into consideration, that it almost becomes a part of your day, a part of checking in with your little inner child. That's how good you want to be at communicating with your inner child, as if it was your best friend, as if it was your partner, your lover, your friend, your very, very best friend, your parents. That's how close you want to become to your inner child, because you want to start asking it loads of questions, like, when it has a tantrum. For instance, for mine was like, I don't feel good enough. I feel not seen, not heard, and even though I'm putting in all this work, and it doesn't feel like it's appreciated. Because I have a thing in my past where I wasn't heard, I wasn't seen. From my culture, don't be seen, don't be heard. You're only here to serve. And it hits home. It really does. So, part of that has been a lot of my inner work that I had to work through, that it's not true, like, different stories that my mind tells my head or what's happening or unfolding, right? It's about really seeing what's happening, and you kind of question and go, hey, is it really true, little Lena, that you don't feel seen or heard right now? Because you just got a compliment from your leadership. And it was a great compliment, and you're seen by the right people, and you look at this impact you're creating for everybody. Do you see all those happy faces every time you put on an event, every time you talk to somebody and give them time? And you're like, okay, you're right, I see what you did there. And it's starting to reprogram, right? Because you're noticing things like that. So you want to start noticing things and talking to your inner child as if it's right next to you. So it becomes more and more ease, and then basically it's part of your day. So what I do during the day is I have several conversations. Sorry. I thought I put everything on Do Not Disturb. But so basically you have the conversation with your inner child over and over and over again, like as if it was part of your day. That's what I do. Oh, Lena, what are you feeling like that for right now? It's like, what's happening right now? Why are you so anxious? Is it because you're scared of being seen? Yeah, it's because when you were younger, you weren't allowed to be seen. You weren't allowed to be heard. You were supposed to stand in a corner and wait for somebody to get you. So when you're putting yourself out there, it feels very uncomfortable, like you're not doing the right thing by you. Oh, okay. So that's why you're anxious. I see what you did there. It's okay. This is a practice, and it is a practice. You just have to practice every day, and it becomes better and better. But don't do inner child and just go one day, hey little girl, hey little boy, I see you, I love you, and then wait a decade to do it again, right? Because that's not how it works. Think of it as your own child. Think of it as your own dog. Parents, older parents, they can't take care of themselves. It helps when you reassociate and understand that this is a real thing, this is a real person. And the more you do that, the more you see how much you heal inside, and how much of the things that used to have energetic charge behind it and you felt very triggered by don't even matter anymore. And you're leaving room for more things, more abundance, more love, more opportunities, more projects, new jobs, new friends, new possibilities. You don't even know how much you can open a door by just doing this for yourself. And it's society would say, like, are you crazy talking to yourself? No, it's the healthiest thing you can do, talking with yourself, to your little girl, to your little boy, your inner child. And what you can also do is that you can do automatic handwriting. So you would write with your dominant hand as if you're writing a letter to your inner child. Then you would answer it with your non-dominant hand, which is your subconscious, a doorway to your subconscious mind. And it's also access the inner child. And you just let it write. Don't edit, don't do anything, just let it write. And then you look back and go like, oh, you really do feel like that, huh? And then you can answer with your dominant hand again. I know it sounds a little bit too much to do, but realistically, you would do it for your friend. You would do it for your parents. You would do it for your little child, like a real child. You would do it for the people you love, but you're just not conditioned or understand that you need to do this for yourself. So it's just a way, like a different way of thinking about it, right? So going back to that story I was telling you about, this leadership, she was trying to tell me, no, don't listen to that voice. Don't listen to that voice of saying that says that you're wrong, or that you're not wanted or seen or heard, that you're not appreciated. Don't listen. And I was like, it's interesting that you say that. And I'm just gonna interject because this is what I do with my clients and therapy wise, is that we don't want to silence that part of us, because that's where we get into deep shit. Because we spend most of our lives, because that's what it is, we've been told not to have emotions or not to express them in public or cry in public. We're not supposed to say things that could disrupt people or make them feel uncomfortable or anything, right? But what you want to do is you really want to acknowledge what that inner child is saying to you, what's happening right now, what the triggers are, what you're feeling right now. By acknowledging it, you're not rejecting it, because when you reject it, you think that it's gone. You think that you're being positive to yourself by I'm not thinking about negative stuff, I'm not thinking about stuff, that's toxic positivity, by the way. But when you actually go like, oh, I see what you did there, I know you feel really shitty right now, but in actual fact, that's just how you used to feel, and that's a defense mechanism, and you just have to reprogram that. So really what's happening right now is that you are being seen, you are being heard. I see all these different people really reaching out to you and saying how great you're doing of a job, and they can't do without you. Yeah, you're right. That's the proof. That's the proof. And you start to soften up to yourself. It's massive. And she realized, because I said, like, you wouldn't do that to your child, right? Could you imagine saying that to your little toddler and like, shut up, don't think that way, I don't want to listen to it? She's like, oh no, I couldn't, oh my gosh. I was like, you're right. So yeah, exactly. You could never do that to your own child, to tell them to shut up, or I don't want to listen to that, don't say that. Because you want them to be able to express their feelings, love and care, or emotions, or what's going on, or what's hurting them, so they can express it and hold space for them. And that way, it doesn't become a thing anymore, because they realize that they can be who they want to be, and they don't have to suppress or hold back. Of course, it's good to have filters, but it's important to be able to be authentic to yourself. So that's on inner child today. I hope you enjoyed this section, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Namaste. I honor and delight in you. Thank you for honoring and delighting me.